So, Jim, welcome to the Marketing Study Lab podcast.
Thanks. I'm great to be here, Peter. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
Fantastic. No problem. Pleasure to have you on. As always, I like to start with a random opener for my guests. And this is quite topical. Bear in mind what we're going to be talking about. But I'm going to dive straight in and ask you, if Twitter was an animal, what animal would it be? And you cannot say the obvious.
Right. And I thought about this, and I would actually say if Twitter was an animal, it would be a puppy dog,
Okay.
because people either love or hate dogs. And because it's such an open platform, right? Dogs are usually so friendly if you treat them nice. So everybody loves dogs. Well, I love dogs. And so I would make it a dog, because it's kind of the universally, they give you unconditional love. And that's how Twitter treats you, right? If you treat it well, it treats you well. If you treat it bad, it can treat you bad as well. So yeah, we could call it, I would probably call it Pugly, because I like pugs.
Pugly. I like that. Maybe if they ever rebranded, you can get in touch and say, I've got this idea.
Right.
Don't think they take you up on it, but you can try.
Right.
So let's get into more serious stuff and tell us a bit about yourself. What's the story that brings you to this point in your career, and can you explain a little bit about what you're up to now?
Yeah, it's probably, I would like to think it's an interesting story. So I'm actually a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I retired from the Marines about 10 years ago, and I was doing government contract consulting, but I've always been somewhat of a geek and a techie type of guy. And so a little over 4 years ago, I started, I was looking to do something different. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And so I decided to switch over to social media, because I'd be in these conferences. I always run these people like, oh, I do social media for people. And when I really analyzed what they were doing, I was like, I can do that. And I think I can do it well. And so I started to teach myself some of it. And then I started to find mentors. And before too long, because I had actually been an adjunct professor at a university teaching government contract type
Wow.
courses, I was doing workshops at a community college up in North Carolina, and it grew to where I was doing workshops at three of them. Started to pick up clients, and just started to learn the platforms one at a time. So started with, I had a lot of people start with Facebook, and then started to do a little bit of Instagram, and then Twitter really is something I really started in. I would say I created an account in 2016, but 17 is when I really got serious about it, because I was probably like a lot of people. It's like, oh, what's this Twitter thing? I really don't understand it. But now it's it's I would say it's neck and neck between Twitter and LinkedIn as far as which are my favorite platforms. But yeah, so in 17, I actually attended the social media marketing world virtually, and I learned about Madeline Sklar. So I started to follow Madeline's podcast, started to do Twitter chats and all these other things, and so I'm actually now a part of her greeter team on the Twitter Smarter Twitter chat, which is every Thursday. So I've been very active on Twitter now, and as we were talking earlier, I was actually in the top 10 tweeters at the conference, which had over 2,700 people participating. So there's so much you can do with Twitter. It's an open platform. I've also been doing live streaming now for a little over a year and a half. Co-host a show with a guy, Tim, that and we didn't meet till last year. We were actually doing this show. He lives in Pennsylvania. I'm in Georgia, and we've now done 76 episodes. So I don't know if we'll catch up to you with your podcast numbers, but we really enjoy getting to talk to people just like we're talking here today.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll soon catch up with me. No problem at all. Well done on the tweeting it, social media marketing world as well. Superb stuff to get in the top 10 out of thousands of people. That's cool.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so really, yeah. So it's what I do now full time. You just make those decisions, and I meet so many great people in this industry. I've got lots of friends in Britain that I was hoping to make it to Atomicon. It's not going to quite work out this year, but hoping for 2021 that that's like on on the top goal of where we're going to go. My wife and I would love to come over there and do a little bit of tourism as well, England
Sure.
and Ireland both. So
Yeah,
don't hold that against me that I said Ireland.
no, not at all. Love Island. It's yeah. In terms of places in the world, it's always where you live you take for granted, and you always want to go somewhere else and do the tourist thing. But like, there's nothing better. Like I live near Liverpool, so there's nothing better for me than visiting the likes of London or any of our major cities, or even like rural areas, because there's so much history. It's amazing, and Ireland's the same.
Right.
And one of my friends over there, James Perry, he's been on the podcast as well. He does tutoring for accountants, and he's always posting on mainly Facebook, but he's always posting the history of Ireland. And some of the photos he shows, you're like, "Where's that? It's Ireland, really? Wow, that's amazing."
Right. Right. Yeah. My daughter, when she was in college, spent 6 weeks studying abroad in Northern Ireland,
Ah, cool.
and so she loved it out there. So yeah, at least she came back.
Yeah, some great places to visit as well. So yeah, let me know when you're over. I'll give you some tips.
Awesome.
Speaking of tips, and you said one of your major platforms is Twitter. So today, I'd like to go through some actionable tips for that platform. But I think for my audience, one thing, and for me as well, what I'd love to do is cover the basics. Like
Sure.
what you need to do when you've first set up account, best practice, all those types of things. Because there's loads of stuff that you could do,
Right.
but it's like it's doing it right and the right things correctly. So, like, over to you, Jim. Take us through
Yeah.
what we need to be doing to ace Twitter.
So let's start. We're keeping it simple. Let's talk with actually our Twitter, as like some people call it, our bio and our header, which is the big. A lot of times it's blue on people's Twitter profiles, and that's something we want to get away from. But when I look at the Twitter photo that you upload, I always recommend it should be your picture and not a logo, unless you're truly a brand and representing a brand. And one of the things I think, even in personal branding, the photo you use on one platform, you should carry it across all of them for consistency. So whatever your LinkedIn photo is, I would say that should be your Twitter photo, because that's how people are going to start to recognize you and know who you are. The next step to that is you have 160 characters that you can write in your biography. So you want to make it, really to the point, describe who you are, maybe what you do, and you can build in some hashtags, but I wouldn't do more than 2 or 3, because when people are searching through your biography, that may be, one of those things that they may find you when they're doing search.
Yeah.
And then one of the features that people don't realize they did is your actual name. Where like I'm, Jim Fuhs right now, digital marketing consultant, and I have the hashtag for the conference I was just at. You can have up to 50 characters there. So you can actually change that up to make it more than just your name or your company name, and add some description. And that's another great way to kind of add a little bit more to what you're able to put out there as far as how people know what you do. The header space, which a lot of people don't think about as well, it's almost like having your own billboard.
Okay.
So you can use, Canva's a great program, Adobe Spark's another great program. You could go out there and even kind of create a collage of what you're doing, or even like put maybe your website name and some other things that just kind of catch people's attention. So because really, right, that's your first impression before they even start looking at your tweets.
So,
And then, yeah.
just on that, Jim, you mentioned your photo should be the same across all
hmm
platforms, which is fantastic. Is the header kind of similar? So you'd use a similar heading on Twitter and LinkedIn and other platforms?
I do. I
Okay.
have. Sometimes it's a little hard with Twitter just because it's a smaller header space than, say, LinkedIn. But I think as much as you can, it's not a bad idea to do at all. And yeah, so no, that's a great question. The other thing that I started doing is, you're able to put your like a web link. And so rather than just like say making it your website or whatever, there's a couple programs that I've become I guess you could say, enamored with. One is called linktr.ee or Linktree, and the other one is called Smart Bio by actually the people from Tailwind. They're both free. I mean, they have paid versions, but they literally let you create a link hub.
Okay.
So when I click on that link hub, now it'll show, like, you could say, connect with me on Twitter, connect with me on Facebook, all your profiles. If you had some sort of call to action, where it's like, hey, I want to, sign up for my newsletter. And because each one of those spots on the hub is literally another website. So, and even though it's meant for Instagram, because it's a website link, you're able to use it on Twitter, because sometimes that it's really just difficult to decide, what do I want to use? Because maybe you're not really keeping your website up to date, but you want people to know, hey, I'm on other social platforms. So you could even have your LinkedIn company page or LinkedIn profile, just about, and there's no limit into how many, if you want to call it, landings you can have on that hub once you use
Cool.
it. So I think that's another very powerful tool as well.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's really, the key to the bio and header. I would say check it quarterly at a minimum, if not monthly, to see if there's anything you need to update. Because I'll be updating mine probably in another couple weeks to put which the next conference I plan to go to is, so that when people are searching for the conference hashtag, they may find my account and connect with me.
That's cool. I love linking to make bigger events and making it searchable. Just all of this so far that we've covered is just make yourself consistent and easy to find as well, as easy as possible.
Right. Absolutely. So the next thing I know a lot of people have issues with is, okay, you got all these followers, or you're following all these people. How do I keep up with it? Because if you look at just the home feed on Twitter, it's overwhelming. And the joke is, right, a tweet lasts about 18 minutes and then disappears. So I'm a huge fan of Twitter list. And what a Twitter list allows you to do is really, and it can be a private list or a public list. Now, public list, if I add you to that list, I will get like a notification, Jim added Peter to his list, uh, smart marketers. And you're kind of like, wow, that was really cool. That person added me to that list. So as an example, you could create speaker lists for events. When I just finished reading this book by Mitch Jackson called The Ultimate Guide to Social Media, I put every person that wrote a chapter in a public Twitter list, and I called it Mitch Jackson Collabs, and as a public list. So not only did he see it, and I shared it with him, he also was very appreciative of that. Now I'm able to follow all those people that wrote in his book and what they're tweeting. And the other thing about a Twitter list is you can actually get subscribers. So you could actually tweet your list out and say, hey, if you want to follow all the speakers at, as an example, Cambridge Social Day, subscribe to this list. And so that's one of the beauties of the public list. Now, where a private list can come in handy is that, as an example, you could follow your competitors. You could be, and I don't even say follow, just add them to the list. The beauty of a Twitter list is I don't have to follow you to put you on a list.
Okay.
And so if it's a private list, right, it's kind of like you don't even know that I'm seeing your tweets, because it is a private list, and they don't show who's on that list to anyone that may go look at your list of lists. And but you could be following your competition. Maybe you want to follow some different subjects that you're kind of interested in, like maybe you want to create a list about cryptocurrency, or maybe it's some industry that's evolving, but you don't want in a sense, your competition to know what you're kind of looking at when it comes to Twitter. So that's where a private list can be very powerful. And there's really no limit into how many lists you can have. And so once you've created that list, when you go look at the list, it's really creating its own feed. And so that feed then allows you to interact just off of that. So now, right, I've only got so many minutes in the day. If I've got these lists of people that I really want to stay in touch with and continue to develop that relationship much easier than going around and searching from, you know, account to account, like, okay, what did Peter say today, or what did May King say today, or someone, you know, what did Joe say today? Now I can just go to that list and say, okay, chronological order. Nobody's, you know, said anything, or if it's current, I can reply. I can, you know, retweet it, send it out to my network, ideally with a comment. Sometimes if I want to add, you know, why is this of interest to the people following me?
So on those lists, is it almost like a folder that you go into, and everybody in that list, you can see what's going on?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
it gets rid of basically all the drivel that you've collected over the years on your main feed, so you can just focus on
Exactly.
particular elements. That's brilliant.
Yes, yes. So I'm a huge fan of that. The next thing, well, do you have any more questions on lists?
No, no, not at all. It was just that clarity on
Yeah, yeah.
you create a list, and then is it just comes up in your normal feed, or is it separate from that? But it seems separate from
And
that, which is
there's
fantastic.
even a way now too where you can like pin your 5 favorite list within your account, and kind of you like swipe and it'll show you the feed automatically, so you don't even have to go into your folder if you want to do
Wow,
that
that's
as
cool.
well. Um, Another big thing that people don't realize you can do is you can use video on Twitter. And so
Cool.
you can record up to about, I'll say, give or take about a 2-minute video and upload it. So whether it's, you know, something you recorded, or say, even for an example, and we've done it a couple times, take a section out of, say, a longer form video, tweet it out there, and then you have a link and you say, and if you want to watch the rest of the video, go to this link. One thing what Twitter is different about than the other platforms is a lot of the other platforms punish you for taking people off their platform.
Hmm.
Twitter doesn't have an issue with you sharing, you know, blog post links, website links, links to YouTube as well. So that's where video can be powerful as well. And another powerful use of video on Twitter is what we like to call video replies. Madeline Sklar is one of the people that really kind of started this aspect of what we call video reply day, where maybe when somebody connects with you on Twitter, you reply back with a short video. You'll be like, you know, hey, Peter, really glad you connected with me. Hope you have a great day. And so you send that reply in video, and, you know, you'll sometimes just make people's day because it's not something that they expect.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I've done that. I like to do that periodically. You know, it's as simple as just, I prefer to actually record the video and then upload it to Twitter, because I don't really like how they currently change their way of recording video, where, you know, you'll see it's kind of wraps this little bar at the bottom into the video. And so I prefer just, I'll record the video on my phone and then I upload it when I'm creating a tweet,
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
So I think that's an absolute genius idea, and I suppose it goes across all platforms. But if you think
Mm-hmm.
about Twitter, and like you were saying earlier, that a tweet has a very, very small lifespan. If you're going direct to somebody with a video, not just copy, which is important
Mm-hmm.
as well, but not just copy, it stands out like anything. But you know, because not many people, in the grand scheme of things, not many people are doing that.
Right. Right. No, you're absolutely right. In fact, I just finished reading this book, Age of Influence, by Neil Schaefer. That's actually, doesn't come out till next week, but I met him at the Social Media Marketing World in person for the first time, and a great guy talking about influencer marketing. And he's like, you know, hey, are you an Amazon reviewer? And he gave me his book. So that was one of my favorite stories. So I can't review it on Amazon, I guess, till the book goes on sale. But in the book, he talks about how really only about 1 to 3% of people are actually creating the content, and 90% of people are like the lurkers. And then there's another 9%, you know, I guess you could say one up to 9% that are do it once in a while, right?
Hmm.
And so you're right. There's all the, you know, 300 plus million people on Twitter, and they're not all uh, tweeting videos, if they're tweeting at all. And I think the average number of tweets I think I saw was something like, maybe people tweet I think it was twice a month, or maybe twice a week. Agora Pulse had put something out about that. So if you actually respond to them, like, oh my gosh, this person responded to me.
Sure. How many? How just out of interest, how many times are you tweeting then?
Oh my gosh. I would probably say at least 10 times a day.
Yeah. Sure.
I have like 4 tweets that I schedule throughout the day. They're just kind of like these motivational tweets that I've got like what they call I use this program called Social Jukebox, and it's got like 50 motivational tweets, and so it spreads them out over a period of a couple weeks, and then it'll repeat because like I said, tweet only lasts 18 minutes, so most people don't remember that they even saw it,
Yeah.
maybe a month or two ago.
Sure. And in terms of video, probably my last question on video is, can you do any kind of live streaming then on Twitter?
Yes, yes. It's actually called Periscope is their original platform, but then I also use a program called StreamYard
Oh, cool.
that I can stream live from using StreamYard into Twitter, and that can be any length when you're live streaming.
That's
So
brilliant.
it can be much more than 2 minutes. I guess the question really becomes how many people are actually watching live video on Twitter, but I have seen where Twitter themselves has had different things. We've had some of our political debates, some of our sports stuff have been live streamed, and sometimes breaking news will be there. I mean, for me personally, that's where I actually get most of my news from these
Hmm.
days, at least initially, is Twitter, because in their trending topics, that's when things will pop up there sometimes before it'll get on the I guess you guys call it the telly.
Hey, that's that. Yeah, nicely put. Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
Getting down with the locals.
Yes, yes. So I think that's that. Yeah, there's a lot, and then if you create an ad account later, you can also they have this thing called Media Studio where you can go in and actually do some extra stuff with your video on Twitter. Of course, most of this stuff you're going to want to do on Twitter on desktop because it's just not as user friendly on the phone to do some of the power
Yeah,
features of it.
sure.
So
Got it.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. And then yeah, so the next thing, a great way to really get involved with Twitter is Twitter chats. And
Okay.
so I'm actually now on the, as we like to call it, the greeter team for a chat called Twitter Smarter. And the
Okay.
way a Twitter chat works is it's the hashtag and then the chat name. So, in this case, hashtag Twitter Smarter. Another great one is hashtag Winnie Sun. She's one of the top female financial people in the States, and she runs a Twitter chat every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And so for that hour, what they will do is sometimes they'll bring on a guest. In these cases, there's other chats where people will just put like a topic out, and so they'll put a question out, like it would be like, what's how do you use Twitter to generate leads? And so they'll put it out there as Q1 with the hashtag in the tweet,
Hmm.
and then the respondent will say like A1, and then they want everyone to answer. So because everybody's following that hashtag, and there's a great tool called TweetDeck, which will let you follow everything being said in that hashtag in real time. You can then also reply back to those people's questions and answers, and so it really starts to build a community during that hour. And so the people that really get to know. I mean, I always recommend, if you want to really see how Twitter works, to get involved in some Twitter chats. And even you can do a Google search and find a list of chats. There's more than ones that are just on marketing. There's
Hmm.
ones on education. I've seen there's ones that book authors do, like these independent author chats. And it's a very interesting way to interview someone without actually being on camera or doing a podcast. Literally it's 280 characters at a time.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you think as well because you do have that limited character space, so
Yes.
you can't. It's great for people that waffle because they can't waffle.
Right, right, right. So yeah, so I definitely recommend, if you're saying, well, I'm really having a hard time finding people to connect with, is you get into Twitter chat, and I can tell you unequivocally that I've made some great friends by going from Twitter chats, and then we meet at a conference or something later, and it's like we've known each other forever. So it's a great way to start take those online relationships and bring them to offline.
I think people forget that about the offline relationship, and that's really where you get that strong bonding. Whether it's a client, whether it's a prospect, or whether it's just somebody that you've started talking to on social, it's that offline that it starts to build and grow and develop into something bigger and better. And like you said, it is like you meeting somebody that you already know, and why wouldn't you want that? So much easier.
Right. And that's probably how I've met most of my friends that I have quite a few friends over there in Britain that I met through Twitter, and even I've become friends a couple years ago with Samantha Kelly, who's the tweeting goddess who lives in Ireland, and it was through Twitter, and we met in real life, and she's interviewed me and I've interviewed her, and she's an amazing lady, and doing a lot for women business owners with her Inspired Women's Network. And yeah, she's someone you should definitely have on at some point as well.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'll hit you up for an introduction at some
Absolutely.
point. That'd be brilliant. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, yeah. And then one of the things like you just got done doing is live tweeted at the Social Media Marketing World. And by live tweeting, we don't mean like you're necessarily getting on camera with a video, but a good event will have a hashtag established for the event. So like in the case of Social Media Marketing World, it was hashtag SMMW20. I believe AtomicCon with Andrew and Pete will probably be hashtag AtomicCon20. And so as an example, if you were given a presentation, I'm taking pictures. If you maybe got some slides coming up, I'm taking a picture of your slides, uh, and then I'll adjust that slide and I'll make that my graphic, and I'll tweet like, Peter's, going over the 5 keys to successful podcast. And then I send it out and I tag you, because as a speaker, you appreciate that people are sharing your stuff, but you're also allowing people to participate in the event without physically being there. The crazy thing though, kind of like the Twitter chat, by following the hashtag, and this was the case even in Social Media Marketing World, there were 3 or 4 people that were like tweeting like crazy that weren't even physically at the conference because they were able to follow the conversation by the hashtag. So, that's one of the beauties of where you can participate in an event without physically being there because of the hashtag, and just knowing like, okay, from this time to this time, this is when stuff's going on. I mean, it's not quite the same as being there, but it still does that. And you can even make the argument, and I know, we were talking earlier before we came on about May King. She's a FOMO creator, right? The fear of missing out. And so all the tweet activity can really do that. And then, yeah, we had this company out of Spain, Metricool. It was so neat that they were tracking all of the Twitter activity of all the attendees, and even the Instagram activity as well, to share with people some of the highlights of some of the stuff that was going on. So yeah, I love live tweeting at events, and I think the one thing I would like to do more of that I sometimes forget to do is set aside some time. If I know there's an event I'm not going to, like, oh, let me follow this event and see if there's anything coming out of that I could be one of those, stalking tweeters that's not physically there.
That's cool. I love the fact that at all these events, or just in general life, that when I do workshops or I do teachings, I'll be teaching them something, and I'll say, for example, Hotjar. I love Hotjar at the moment. I get people on that and show them how it works. But there'll be every now and again that there'll be a certain piece of software, and I'll say, yeah, let's check this out because it's brilliant. And you click on the link and it goes to nowhere because they've closed down, because things are changing so quickly. Right. Or there'll be something new that comes out of the conference or just appears from nowhere and everyone starts using it. I just yes. love that side of it. It's brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover today, unless you had any questions do you have any questions on live tweeting?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. I suppose the main thing to take away from everything you were saying then about live tweeting is the fact that just do it. Just start. There's no time like the present, and even, and this is the same on any social platform, but it can be so disheartening if you think you're going to go on there and then you're going to get 4,000 likes or even 50
Right.
likes, and you get 2, or you get 1
Right.
or 0, or there's no interaction at all. You just keep going, build that presence, because I always link anything to networking when we're talking about things like this. And you don't go
Right.
to a networking seminar or anything like that, and you don't walk in and go, buy my stuff to someone you don't
Right.
know. And you
Right.
certainly don't walk in and just go, hello, everyone, I'm here. And everyone's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, he's here. Pete's here. Who's Pete? What? And it's the
Right.
same with social. You go on, you build these relationships.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's very true. But I think the other thing too, it's just the importance of these events. I don't care how big or small you are. You really need to start thinking about having a hashtag, because
Okay.
people can go and go back after the fact and learn stuff about your event, even if it was last year, right? If they go and search the hashtag from last year, they'll find tweets about it, and they may find some nuggets that, like, oh, I need to find out more about this or that. And it just, it creates that ability for people to find and connect with your event, especially if it's something you plan to hold multiple times. It's just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's,
sure.
because what's even worse is someone that has an event and you say couldn't make it. It's like, well, how do I find out what's going on during the event?
Mm.
There's no way to do it because nobody created a event hashtag.
That is true. And then you look, you're almost searching for things
Right.
that are going on, and you're using words you think people might be using, or hashtags you
Right.
think they might, and then hashtag marketing, and you realize, okay, there's a few more tweets than I thought there was going
Yeah.
to be about
Yeah.
marketing today.
Absolutely. And then the last thing I really want to talk about is people will say, well, how do I get my Twitter? How do I grow my Twitter presence? And
Absolutely, yeah.
I really think it's the same, whether it's on, Twitter or even the other platforms. But I always like to use the 4 E's of social media, which
Okay.
is, tweet stuff that's educational to your audience, like teach them about what you're doing or whatever your subject is. Engage with them, right? Don't just, if you tweet something, Pete, then I should be like replying back to you like, hey, I really like this, or something along that lines, or even taking your tweet, and when you do the retweet, actually do it with a comment, like tell people this is why you should read it, and then that the original tweeter is going to appreciate the fact that you're sharing their content, so you start to engage with them and build that relationship. And
Okay.
maybe they'll follow you back when they weren't following you before. um, the other thing is entertain people, and that's where I love gifs. Gifts are, those funny little uh, things we see people put in. So, it might be like, whether it's instead of just saying, laugh out loud, like maybe there's a lady that's always like spitting out her coffee in her cup. You add that gif when you think something's funny. So, because I think we got to remember that social's supposed to be social, and
Yeah.
sometimes we should have some fun, and you can actually create your own gifs.
Oh
And
wow.
you basically, you could just sit in front of a camera, record yourself doing maybe some different motions, and then Giphy, Giphy, will let you take those little 6-second cuts, and then you can add your own, you know, words and things. And I've created a couple. That's one of my goals, is to create some more for some of those words you can't always find a good gift for. But it just makes it a lot of fun, and then you can use those on other platforms as well. And then also just the final E after entertaining is empower people, right? Share information that's going to help people solve some of their problems, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your original content. It could be someone else's. And then, and even the power of pinning a tweet to your profile, right? That
Mm.
first thing they see when they show in. So as an example, if you've got an episode coming up of your podcast, you pin that, because that'll at least stay there, because otherwise it kind of disappears. And so that's a way to, as well, to kind of educate people of what's the most important thing that you want them to catch from you. And then even in some of these cases, you want to have a call to action. Like, what do you want people to do?
Okay.
Um, one of the nice features Twitter has as well that's actually quite popular is you can do polls. So maybe
Okay,
you
yeah.
do a poll like, what's your favorite hand sanitizer?
Topical.
Make it something topical, or I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, in the States, I don't know if it's the same problem there. It's like, I guess, what's your favorite toilet paper? Because that's been another crazy thing.
Well, the quick answer to that is any.
But yeah, but by doing that stuff, right, you make yourself interesting to people, and even really the bigger thing is just, I would say the biggest way to grow your Twitter presence is to engage with other people, not
Mm,
sell like you were talking about earlier, but just genuinely engage and, show appreciation for others. I mean, you hear a lot of negative stuff about people's behavior on Twitter. You can block them. Like I said, I'm big on lists, so I don't always hear all the noise that people talk about, right? If you don't like what
hmm
people are saying, don't follow them. You won't see it.
Yeah.
I think that tends to be where people have this issue, right? Like, oh, it's like, or it's so negative out there. Well, who are you looking at?
Yeah, exactly. Your feed is what you want it to be. It's almost
Yes,
as simple as that across all platforms, especially
right,
Twitter, because like you say, you can follow who you want to, you can block who you want to, you can create lists and just follow those. So that's essentially creating your own news channel or your own feed or TV channel, if you like, and
exactly,
just
exactly.
watching that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So those are really, I think, hopefully some actionable steps that people can take to get their Twitter going on. I mean, unless you've got some other questions, this has been really, really enjoying this.
Yeah, no, really cool. I think I don't do much on Twitter. I just keep it ticking over. And I suppose it's because I've never spoken to anyone about these practicable, actionable steps that you can see. I'm getting excited by it already. The
Right.
actionable steps that you can actually take to develop a Twitter profile. And you're right. If you go on there and you're following it, well, it doesn't really matter who you follow. You just start following, say, a few hundred accounts, and you see a bit of negativity. It can be so off-putting. But the
Hmm.
way you've showed it, and the little bits like getting involved in Twitter chats, because the chances are they're going to be almost 100% positive, or you're going to be chatting to people, like-minded
Yes.
people, which is great.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely.
Love all that. So, Jim, I like to finish all my conversations with some quick-fire questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So, I think I might know the answer to this first question, but let's go for it. What's that source of info you can't live without?
It's got to be my Twitter feed.
Yeah, thought so. Yeah, absolutely. If I was a betting man, money would have been down on that. Excellent.
Yes.
So, second one, what was the last thing you remember Googling?
Ooh. I was Googling Metricool to
Ah,
find their website.
cool. Like it. Again, topical. If you could tell your 10-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
That's a really good one. Study harder.
I can just see a 10-year-old Jim going, okay,
Right, right.
will do. Uh, what's the most important thing to know in marketing right now?
That it's constantly changing, and you have to be prepared for change. You can't keep doing things the way you've always done them on these platforms. But I will say the fundamentals never change. It's
Yep.
just the platforms change.
Boom. Exactly what I teach. Fantastic. I love that. I'm going to cut that snippet out and just play it to all my students and just walk out the
Right.
room. Job done. Jim's taught you all you need to know. Final question and most important part of the interview. If people want to find you, know more about you, where should they go?
I would say go to LinkedIn, just search for Jim Fuhs, JIMFUHS. You can follow me, you can connect with me, and then on YouTube, the Tim and Jim Show, we've got our channel out there, and we're uploading our weekly interviews with people from all over the world on different things, and would love for people to follow us and learn more about our guests as well. And
Brilliant.
yeah, so and then of course Twitter, right? You
Of
can follow
course.
me at Fuhsion MKTG, or I think if you search for Jim Fuhs, you'll find it as well. I don't think there's that many Jim Fuhses. It's unusual.
Yeah, it's the good thing
Absolutely.
about having quite a unique surname. It's
Right.
usually, if people search for you, especially in marketing or social or whatever it might be, it's very limited, the Jim Fuhs or the Peter Sumptons that come up.
Right. Absolutely.
And you'd hope that you've done your job well enough that they know which one they should be looking for.
That's right. Not
Brilliant.
the one without a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one with the egg face or whatever it might
Right.
be. Yeah. Not that one.
Yes.
Not those.
Yes.
Never those.
Yes.
Jim, absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much. You got me so excited about Twitter. Absolutely loving it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great talking with you.